For you to be able to perform a new skill, like speak another language, you have to put specific information into your brain to allow it to transform into a brain that can execute on that given skill. Your body is the same when it comes to food instead of information. You don't have the physique you want because you don't give your body the right types of food, at the right amount of food, at the right timing, for your body then to mutate into a physique that you desire. There's a gap between what you're doing now and what you should be doing to attain that dream physique. And it's understandable because this is not common knowledge. Yeah, it's not taught in schools, is it? And no, why? And I wonder why. Because the system doesn't really want strong, masculine, muscular fucking men. Why? Because you're a threat to society. If we're being honest, like a guy that is muscular that cuts around, all you do is enhance competition. And do they want competition? No, of course they don't. When you build a sick physique, your whole mindset changes with it because of who you had to go, what you had to do to become that man with that physique. It changes who you are, and you then believe anything is possible. And you're like, well, if I've been through this hardship, I've gone and got the physique I want, I'll go and take whatever else I want in this dynamic of life. And if everybody did this, they would have no one left to fucking control, and there would be no power for them. So this is exactly my point as to why this happens. So, by you learning this information, you are going to get the upper hand on the competition and get closer to what you want, which ultimately is freedom and the ability to attract what it is you desired within your head. And this is the second part in the series of the best diet for looking like an athlete. In part 1, we set you up with specific macros, or calories, proteins, fats and carbs relative to your body composition, which most importantly is what is your weight, how much body fat you're carrying, and what muscle mass have you got. Now becomes and begs the big question, cool, what do I eat? What do I physically eat relative to those macros? Tell me practically what I can consume to be at this point. And that is what we're going to deliver on in this video today. So we're going to hit the 3 main macronutrients. I'm going to give you how much of that to eat, what you should physically eat, and then I'm going to bolster your knowledge with some science and some important shit that you should probably know, and it gives context and goes down the nuance of this so you learn it today and then you can apply it for the rest of your life. So as always, get a fucking notepad and pen, be ready to take notes, be ready to learn, be in learning mindset. Don't just sit here and passively watch it, or you will not get what you came here for, and you will still end up looking the same in fucking 6 months' time. Okay, so starting off with protein. How much protein do you personally need to eat within a given day? Now remember, on the last video, I worked out what your lean body mass is. And lean body mass is that number that we require to work at your protein target. Now, the ISSN amounts recommend anywhere from 2.3 to 3 grams per kilogram of lean body weight, okay? I always go on the lower end of that at 2.4. So your lean muscle mass, which we worked out in the last video, you take that figure and you times it by 2.4, and that will give you your protein target in grams for the day. As a rule of thumb, you could also use your, and I really hate saying this because everyone on fucking the internet says, oh, 1 gram per pound of body weight. And yeah, fine. That is a rough general guideline you could use as well, unless you're really fucking fat. Because if you're really fat, your weight in pounds will be so fucking drastic, you don't need that much amount of protein because it's the lean tissue that requires the protein. In which case, A, do the fucking calculation I've just said, but B, your height generally in centimeters, put that into grams, and that can also work. So you now have probably paused the video, written down your target, you understand how much you need. Let's say it was 160 grams within a given day. The next question is always, well, how much of it should I eat per meal? And is there like a anabolic window after training? And there's 2 things I'll say on that. The anabolic window after training is up to 24 hours after, so you will scratch that itch, no problem. And when you have your overall protein target, hitting the target is the most important, the longest lever it comes to when we're consuming protein. So then if you wanted to be a bit smarter, I would take the target and divide it by how many meals you're going to eat within a given day. And that should fall roughly anywhere from a 20 to a 40 gram amount of protein in a given meal, and that will scratch that itch. Now, let's get specific. What should you fucking eat? So in order for me to help you with this, I've got a food menu table for each macronutrient, and you can pause the video and take screenshots of this to use. So protein sources I would go for. Now this is set here to 20 grams, 30 grams, and 40 grams of protein, but realistically the food types will stay the same. All that changes is the gram amount of that food that you're going to eat. So we'll just skip down to the 40 because predominantly, majority of you are going to be operating on 40 grams per meal. If you are going to have protein in the mornings, you could have a fattier option, salmon fillet, red meat, and that'd be good. And your leaner stuff towards the end of the day. But anyway, that's going specific and nuanced. We don't need to go into that. But sources I would stick to: raw salmon fillet, smoked salmon, fucking love it, even the smell of it. Red meat, minced beef, yogurt. This is a useful one for your last meal of the day where you may not want something, you want something sweeter to finish the day on, especially if you are dieting. White fish, very boring, but very, very good and very high in protein. Same with raw chicken breast. Like, you will laugh and be bodybuilders is all like chicken breast and rice, but there's a reason they've been around for so long. Chicken breast is fucking lean as fuck. Look at that. You get, for 180 grams of uncooked weight, is only 200 calories and 40 grams of protein. That is literally insane. The ROI on that given food is next level. So absolutely indulge in that. Turkey mince and then tuna in spring water. These are going to be your protein options. And what I would do, of course you can have a shake as well. That will be on there relative to what it would say on it. And what you can also do for like, where you're having if you want protein around the workouts, shakes will be good because if you have it straight after, it will digest faster, get into the system quicker. If you are having high carb before the workout, you would put in, you could put protein into like oats or something and it would digest faster as well, and you would get that in the system that way. But other than that, you will then work out how much protein you need. These are your sources. This is how much amount, and then this is what it spits out to in calories. So now let's bolster our knowledge on protein itself. So, of course, when we're trying to build muscle, we need protein synthesis to occur. Now, protein alone causes a transient rise in protein synthesis. And exercise also potentiates the rise. So it understands the point that we need to train really fucking hard and eat the right amount of protein, and that will best steer us in the space of protein synthesis. Now, higher protein intake should be around the same, to be honest, whether you're whatever phase of a bulk cut or maintenance you're at. But when you are dieting, protein will help you in the sense that it will keep you fuller for longer because it is the most satiating macronutrient. It also has a higher thermic effect of food, meaning that just naturally, if we ate 200 calories worth of protein, fats and carbs, you would actually burn calories just digesting the protein. So it can aid in fat loss in an indirect way in that regard. And that is everything I will say on protein. Let's move on to fats. Now, with fats, people think, oh, if your fats are too low, it's going to tank your testosterone levels. But to be honest, that won't happen. What will happen is if your calories are so low and your output is so high, naturally over time there will be a gradual decrease in it, but you would have to diet for a fair amount of time for that to happen. So how much fats do you need to have? Well, we had your calorie target, we set your protein target, now we need to set your fat target. That's the next thing we'll do. And there's a healthy space you want to be in. I would set fats to 25% of the total calorie target. And there's a rough guide where it was 1 gram per pound of body weight for protein. We're now looking at anywhere from 0.3 to 0.7. Now, with that, one thing I will say is your body needs omega-3, and that's an essential fatty acid, which it doesn't produce. So I would say that we would supplement this in there. Just like you need a certain amount, I would also say supplement this in there if you're not already getting it from fish, etc. Now, what do you eat for fats? Now, fats will make your food a lot more palatable and a lot more enjoyable. What isn't on there, but a good one that you're probably already having is eggs. Eggs are pretty high fat. Obviously, that's coming from the yolk, and I would have that in there. When it comes to oils, just stick to olive oil. You cannot go wrong with that, a little sprinkle of that. Dark chocolate, very, 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 very good. Especially at the end of the day, good craving killer, will keep you adherent to a diet. Your nut butters, peanut butter, almond butter, good to have in the mornings, in with oats. Avocados, very nice, also a good source of fiber. And then you've got your nuts as well, and I'd be sticking to those. There's your grammage amount. I've set it to 10 just because your target may be only like 50 within a given day, so you want to just creep the increment up. This is one of them, if you overspill on it, it will send your calories through the fucking roof, and you'll realize that you weren't on target where you should have been. So do not pay lip service to the fat amount. Okay, let's bolster your knowledge on fats as a whole. So we already discussed that low fat doesn't decrease test levels. It's the high output and low calorie that will decrease them over time. Higher fat diets could work more effectively in a fat loss phase in the beginning if that person is really fat and quite insulin resistant, because then taking on more carbs is not going to help them. Now, gym sessions are primarily driven by glucose, because the session is anaerobic. We need glucose to fuel that performance. So low carb and higher fat it's not going to have the same performance effect, especially if the session is high volume and you need high output. Now, fats are actually stored easier as fat. Not that fats make you fat, but they're stored easier as fat through the profile that they're already made up as. So when could fats be higher would be a good idea. As you come out the back of your dieting phase, because remember, you're probably going to need to go into one first, you'll find yourself quite fucking hungry. I'm like this at the minute. I'm really hungry. I'm in the depths of my diet and I can't wait to get out of it. A higher fat will actually assist me because it takes longer for fats to digest. So it will also keep you fuller for longer and give you that satiated feeling. When you're in a building phase, you kind of want the opposite. You would want to keep hunger quite high because it will allow your appetite for the calorie surplus over a long period of time, which will then support the muscle growth process. Going higher fat when bulking, people think is a good idea. The only time, I would say that is just to make your food a little bit more palatable. Like if you're so fucking bored of dry ass rice and you sprinkle some olive oil and it keeps you more adherent to the plan, then I would say that actually it is a pretty good thing. I would avoid fats around the workout for what I just mentioned about digestion. It just takes longer for them to digest. But around the workout, you want high digesting foods that are going to be able to be used as fuel straight away. Of course, stay away from trans fats. Be a fucking healthy athlete. Don't pig out on shit because it's not going to do anything for you. Processed meats, just nasty shit. Like anything processed, stay away from it. Fried foods, obviously that also comes under that category. And that's all we'll say for fats, and we'll move on to carbohydrates. So when it comes to carbs, how much should you eat within a given day? Now remember, we've programmed our protein, we've programmed our fats. You've got what is left, and that will be allocated towards carbohydrates. Now, in the later stages of a dieting phase, which you will find yourself in, there actually comes a point where this specific macronutrient, carbohydrates, are really, really fucking important. Now remember, protein is important through muscle protein synthesis, but carbs are important because carbs drive performance in the gym. And you'll get to a point where, because you've depleted glycogen stores over such a long period of time, your energy will be lower. If your energy is lower, you will struggle to complete the same output and tension on a given muscle, so you run the risk of losing muscle mass. So this is where carbs are really fucking important, and in some cases it is smarter to actually pull down fats and increase the carbohydrates. So we're going to go into what should you eat for carbs. And the way I like to break down carbs, you've either got complex, something that takes longer to digest, generally a bit more starchy, or simple, something that is quick and into the system nice and fast. Now, there's a reason rice has been around for so long. It digests beautifully, and that's another thing when it comes to carbohydrates. What digests better for you personally? And you'll have to trial that, and that's what you want to run with over the long term. So jasmine rice, amazing for that. Pasta, again, another starchy. Oats, some people don't agree with them. I really like them, and in a dieting phase where they swell up, and to be honest, All carbs, you add water to them, they expand. Will keep you that fuller for longer and a good source of dietary fiber. And then you've got also white potato. This can digest a little bit faster as well. You could swap this out for a red potato as well, or a sweet potato. Now, then you've got your higher digesting foods, things like your cereals. Now, again, you are adding a bit of sugar in here, but if the purpose was to drive high GI foods quickly into the muscle, it would actually serve as a purpose. Bagels, again, you could put jam on the bagel, eat that, boom, straight into the system, ready to drive performance in the gym. Same with like any form of breads, Scotch pancakes, anything like that. Now, of course, you only need those high GI foods in and around the workout. After that, you can afford to bolster, and the backbone of your staple carbohydrates should come from the complex carbohydrates. Fruit is also going to be another means that you're going to use. Fruit, very, very useful. And on a dieting phase, fruit does sometimes get a bad rap. People are like, oh, sugar from fruit. But like, honestly, I eat mixed berries each and every day. Loads of good antioxidants from them. And if you look at the sheer size and volume of berries versus the calorie amount of them, very, very good ROI. It's almost like the chicken of the carbs section. Very, very good, and will keep you adherent over the long run with this. So we're going to get back into then some more knowledge around carbohydrates. And I'm going to hit you with some advantages, because I feel like carbs get a bit of a bad rap, when actually, if you want to get jacked, carbs are your fucking big boy friend. So they are insulin and anabolism, and they're an anti-catabolism, meaning it will drive insulin into the body. Insulin is anabolic. You can use that to build fucking muscle. Carbs are less readily stored as fat compared to fats were, which means there's less chance of them just being stored as fat. It fuels anaerobic training, the critical building factor of building muscle. Resistance training is anaerobic training. Carbs fuel that. We need fucking carbs. Carbs digest faster than protein and than fats readily into the system. Carbs give you greater pumps in the gym. That sounds surface level shit, but if you're getting good pumps in the gym, you're going to feel fucking good when you look in the mirror, which means you're going to come back for that dopamine hit again, which means you're going to continue training, you're going to continue progressing, and you're going to get the physique you want just by eating fucking carbs. Now, what are the disadvantages? Food is higher in volume, so the back end of your off season, when you're trying to stick that food away, it's going to be slightly harder to do so. And that is when maybe, as I said, sprinkle some olive oil on the rice, easier to get in. Other disadvantages, they are a bit blander. They also hinder the appetite. So as you get deep into a diet phase, just the idea of troughing through a big bowl of rice becomes a lot less appealing. But this is where our strong mindset steps in, and we just fucking get the job done, don't we? Now, as we know, we've programmed the fats, we've programmed the protein first, and the rest is made up for carbs until we need to switch it out. As we spoke about, the back end of that diet phase, there will come a point where carbs need to be the forefront of it. And then we would ask ourselves, well, how important is the timing of carbohydrates? And this will depend on the question. Are you in a building phase or are you in a dieting phase? Majority who watch this probably won't be in a building phase, but if you are, it doesn't matter. Why? Because your glycogen stores are constantly getting full through the fact that you are in a surplus, continuing to eat plenty of food. Now, if you're not in a surplus and you're in a dieting phase, it becomes very, very critical. You are going to want to time that nutrients around two key points. The first one would be the workout, of course, because if we can have carbs around the workout, our performance will be higher. The way I like to structure this, and this is what I've been doing literally recently, I will fast until 12 o'clock. I'll have meal one, which has carbs. I won't have walked. I haven't moved off my chair all morning. I'll then have my pre-gym meal, which is pure carbs. And then I will go and train. I'm full of energy, I haven't moved, I've got my stores in, and when I finish the session, I'll then replan and have some more carbs. So around the workout is smart. When else could it be smart? Well, how about before bed? Because if you go to bed feeling fuller, you're going to sleep better. If you sleep better, you're going to recover better. If you recover better, you are less likely to cheat on your diet the next day and more likely to train fucking harder the next day. So that is why it can be important to actually time your carbs, specifically in a dieting phase. In a building phase, not so critical. Now, let's think about the application of added sugar, also known as sucrose. This is important to mention because we know to avoid processed foods, but I know you fuckers will still go out there and eat processed foods. So I would rather give you some guidelines to follow than tell you to do nothing at all, because A, I'm not your dad, and if I am, you would take that information and you would go and just do it anyway, because that's the way human beings work. So, as a rule of thumb, 5 to 10% of the total intake can go towards these added sugars. For context, if you run 4,000 calories in a building phase, that would be 200 to 400 calories, which, do you know what? It's not really that much. It's only like a small portion, maybe 50 gram of carbs going towards that anyway. So like, I think even a chocolate bar is like a minimum of 200 calories. So you're not actually getting that much, but you're getting enough. And if it keeps you adherent on the back end of your dieting phase, and it keeps you on plan, and it keeps you hitting the target and driving performance and getting to that point, then actually it is no bad thing. And I know people consume a lot more added sugar than that. So at least we're within the right ballpark. 21 minutes deep into this video, we are going to wrap it up there. I like things to be concise and to the point. Look forward to the future videos on this topic. Hopefully it is useful. If it is useful, as always, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. And if you want me to do all this for you and get you your dream fucking result, then there's a link in the description to book a call with me. See you in the next one.